Hello, everyone, and welcome to this latest edition of the Sharesify podcast. I'm Stephen Fraser, and I'm joined as usual by my colleagues in crime, James Crux and Ian Conway. Hello, chaps.
Hey,
Steve.
Steve.
Ian, I know you're desperate to tell listeners about what's been going on in the markets. What's on your mind?
Well, it's still a kind of risk-off mood, Steve. I have to say that the good news is FTSE's still above 10,000. Okay, I mean it's had a quite a choppy week. It's up probably about 50 points from Friday's close, so 0.5%, but it is still above 10,000. FTSE 250's down about 0.8, 0.9%. It's about the same on the S&P. Nasdaq's actually interesting. Nasdaq is flat on the week.
Yeah,
And the
yeah,
Russell is flat on the week. And the futures at the moment, we seem to have settled right down. So futures are kind of indicated small down. But
yeah,
as I say,
yeah,
the risk off mood's still there. Defence stocks pulled back a bit, which is interesting.
yeah,
Today you've
yeah.
got BAE rolls, Babcock down, Rheinmetall's
I mean,
down
you've
in
got a lot of
Germany.
chatter, haven't you, about Trump talking about putting an end to this conflict.
Yeah,
But we don't really know. I mean, it's Donald Trump, so we don't really know how accurate that's going to prove to be. But that's, I suppose, lending itself to an up, and then it's a down, then it's an up, then it's a down for these sectors.
yeah. Interestingly, miners have been going up. They've had actually a reasonable week this week, except that Um, I noticed there was a trio of investment trusts in the mining sector, James. They were all down quite hard this week. What's going on there?
Yeah, they were. So you're referring to CQS Natural Resources Growth and Income, Geiger Counter, wonderfully named, and Golden Prospect Precious Metals, which have all done really well. But the managers, they were well followed. Keith Watson and Robert Crayford tendered their resignations. So that's clearly rattled investors.
Right. But
Yeah,
I mean, what did they give an explanation?
no, there's very, very sort of sparse statements. So where they'll tip up
Right,
next is yet to be seen. But
right.
another busy week for Trust with the Edinburgh Worldwide board sort of pressing the self-destruct button. They're going to return cash to shareholders, but leave a bit of SpaceX exposure in there as well. So
Right.
what's going on?
Right. I mean, this interesting. I suppose. I mean, we've been talking about Saba for weeks. I guess. Is this a victory for Saba? Do we think, or is it a defeat for the trust? How do you read it?
Board certainly sounded defeated. They said they'd
Right.
exhausted
Yeah.
with Saba, exhausted all reasonable options. So
Yeah.
it's a real shame, and the AIC have come out and slammed it and urged the
Yeah.
FCA to get involved because we could see more trusts
Yeah.
fold up their tents, which is a real
Yeah.
shame.
I guess I mean one thing I noticed about the sort of the risk on risk off mood, and we talk about, we know that there's huge capex in the AI space going on, um, and there's been some big corporate bond sales. Now you might think from an investor's point of view that this massive AI investment is massively risk on, but there is a flip to this. Now you've got Oracle, you've had Alphabet, now Amazon have come to the market with around $50 billion worth of notes, US notes and Euro notes. And I suppose from an investor's point of view, if you can get 4%, 5%, whatever, I don't know what the coupons are going to be on these corporate notes, but if you can get that for the next, say, couple of years, I mean, that's a pretty risk-free way to park your cash over what is now at the moment a pretty uncertain few months and maybe a few years ahead. So there's a kind of a risk off element to this big capex raise, because I would certainly feel pretty comfortable invested in Amazon. They're pretty unlikely to default on these
Yeah,
bonds.
these are AAA rated names, aren't they?
Yeah.
So we did a piece on bonds and how to invest in bonds a few weeks ago, actually. So worth looking on the website if you are interested in investing in bonds. Take a look at that.
Yeah, and because I think the government as well, the FCA have been looking at opening up retail investors to corporate bonds,
Mm.
make it much more easy to get involved. So let's wait and see what kind of progress comes down that route as well. What else has been going on, James, that you've seen?
From the consumer names were very interesting. So Domino's had their results out. Not great, but the shares rallied. It's another one of those most shorted stocks. So on the day there
Right.
was, the news was less bad than feared, and the company
Yeah.
says it has a solid base to build on, which is
Right. Right.
quite a nice one for a pizza delivery takeaway firm. And then I had a chat to Nichols this morning, which full disclosure, I've got a stake in the company.
That's the
And
Vimto
that,
people, is it?
yeah, that's the Vimto brand, which is doing very well. It's sort of record sales at retail. And they've been doing some very interesting licensing deals with the likes of MyProtein and Applied Nutrition to get the brands
Oh,
to like gels and powders and that sort of stuff, which is delivering some very strong growth. So
Oh,
worth keeping an eye on.
yeah. And so they do these wonderful little pyramid Vimto ice blocks, I suppose you call them, and they're absolutely lovely. I recommend them. It's not investment advice. Yeah,
I
what's been
was going
going
to
on
say,
in your spaces?
yeah, we had Costain yesterday. We had Balfour Beatty today. These big infrastructure stocks,
Yeah,
they just keep ploughing on. You know, good response yesterday to Costain, again today to Balfour Beatty. The government, if you think about it, the government's committed to spend over £700 billion over the next 10 years.
yeah,
So what that means is you've got such clarity as an infrastructure player. You know, you can work out where you need to add capability. Your subcontractors, all your suppliers, everybody's got kind of line of sight of where their business is going. Contrast that with house builders, where if you think the kind of two big drivers are wage growth and mortgage availability,
yeah,
and then of course prices as well as a third factor. All they can control is the price of the house. They can't control wage growth. They can't control consumer confidence or mortgage
yeah.
availability. So for them, knowing how many completions they're going to make each year, we had Persimmon out on Monday. I mean, in fairness, the stock popped on the day, but it had been down 20% going into that report in the
Yeah,
previous week. So it's actually, although it's up, it closed up 4.5%, still down on the week.
yeah,
So my
yeah.
advice is still stick with infrastructure.
Yeah. Do you, I mean, I wonder, I'm just thinking on my feet here, but I mean, economic theory suggests that when an economy is starting to slow down, start to perhaps go in reverse, then they should spend money on big infrastructure projects because it creates jobs, it creates, economic activity, etc. Um, do we look at the infrastructure world as a benchmark of perhaps, oh dear, our economy's in trouble, or is it far too disconnected to make that kind of line of sight?
No, I mean, Steve, as you know, things like data centers, logistics, warehousing, all this kind of stuff is, plus it all needs energy. And what we're
Yeah,
really
yeah, yeah,
investing in at the moment is the energy infrastructure. So
yeah,
for people like Balfour Beatty, power transmission business is just off the chart at the
yeah,
moment. And you've got the water programs like AMP8. I was chatting yesterday with water business Genuit, the old poly pipe, and they were
right,
saying
yeah, yeah,
AMP9 and AMP10 are coming because the need to spend is there still. So
yeah, yeah,
no, I think but it is when you look at the PMI, the construction PMI that comes out every month. Infrastructure is about the only bit of that construction sector that's growing. The
yeah,
RMI sector isn't really growing much.
yeah,
New build housing isn't growing much, as we know, and
yeah,
even spending on things like schools and hospitals isn't growing that much. It's these mega projects
yeah,
which are
yeah.
keeping the old plate spinning.
Yeah, I mean, I just worth just talking, I suppose, briefly about Oracle overnight as well. I mean, we spoke a bit about capex and so on. They're among those really big spenders. They launched their own bond sale a couple of months ago in about $25 billion they raised. But they had, I mean, that's where all the worry was, looking at their balance sheet and the level of debt. But ultimately, it was their earnings and earnings growth and guidance that really
Mm,
blew investors away. And the
mm.
stock is pointing towards a pre-market of about 10% up. So that's a really pleasing number clearly for investors who are really liking the idea that it's going to continue growing despite spending all this money
Yeah,
on
you've
infrastructure.
got another big one as well tomorrow, Steve. Adobe.
Yeah, absolutely. Really interesting to see what they say about AI and how it might
Mm,
be impacting them. I mean, they've been one of the software service companies that have really led the AI integration and been involved in it for a long time now. So, is it going to help their earnings? That's what investors want to know.
yeah,
Can they maintain sort of mid-teens, 20% growth? That's
yeah.
the kind of question.
So here we've got Shell tomorrow. We've got Computer Center, Informa. Now that does conferences, and actually
Yeah,
that was quite big in the Middle East in its day.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that stock's not had a great start to the year. And the one I'm really interested in, Sunbelt Rentals. This is the new name for Ashtead.
Oh,
Um,
really?
yeah, it's had a choppy few days actually. I noticed it was down yesterday and then closed marginally in the green. down another 4% again today. So we'll see where that closes.
This is the Ashton that's moved its listing to the
The
US.
equipment rental business that moved its listing to the US. Yeah,
Right.
It's
So
priced in
that might,
dollars now.
because I'm looking at my window and there's not that much sign of Sunbelt. So they probably base themselves in Florida or somewhere.
But even here, it's now Sunbelt Rentals.
Right.
They've just extended the brand. Well, that's it. I think for us then, chaps. For
that's a
this
good
Wednesday lunchtime. What else have we got? We've got something else coming out tomorrow, though, haven't we, Steve?
Yeah, so James and I had a really good conversation with Emma Bird from Winterflood. She's the head of investment trust research there. So have a look out for that. That'll be going live sometime tomorrow morning. Really good chat to go right through the investment trust space topics. So yeah, let's leave it there. And tune in again tomorrow with the Winterflood interview, and then we'll see you again on Friday. Take care, everyone.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.